pretty much every year. In the last 6 years, we have been 4 times the number 1 software company in the world and 2 times number 2 software company in the world, providing value to the end customer. In 6 years in a row, it's not an accident. It doesn't happen just by chance. We don't have enough marketing money to buy this study every single year to come out at number 1. You know? So there's something just fundamentally different in the way we are delivering value to the customer. I think this is a very good proof point. More and more customers see this, recognize this, gain the experience. I think that's one of the reasons we as a company are performing quite well.
All right, we've done a lot of talking.
Yeah.
So what is this value? You're talking about value.
Yeah.
What is the value?
Well, let me
you
go through
offer?
multiple. So if you just look at the sheer math of what we charge versus our installed base, we represent, depending on which survey you look at, somewhere between 15 and 18% of all server OS installations, right? We represent, if you believe the IDC numbers, the server operating system market's a $21 billion market. Mm-hmm. Last year we did $750 million of revenue, a lot of services in that, a lot of JBoss in that. So, do your math on roughly what you think, that would be Linux. We don't disclose that number, but it is a low single-digit percentage of server OS revenues. So we deliver almost 10 times the server count share versus our revenue share. So the absolute just dollars for what we charge versus the units that we ship is really almost an order of magnitude, right? Second, it is the architecture that allows for flexibility. So let me, cloud's the new buzzword, hype, but let's go back to just kind of our traditional day in, day out what we do. By delivering an extraordinarily high-performing operating system that abstracts hardware from software, we allow our customers to write applications today without being worried about being locked into their hardware in the future. So you can build your trading platform on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 1 year, 3 years later, bid out, am I going to run this on an IBM, an HP, a Dell, whoever's hardware. Without that lock-in, customers see tremendous value. The broad way I would say it, and I absolutely believe this, Red Hat has brought the power of Moore's Law to the data center. And what I mean by that is the power of Moore's Law in x86 chips is an extraordinarily powerful phenomenon. And it did incredible things to client-server architectures and desktops and fat clients and all of that stuff. Didn't have that big an impact on the data center, quite simply because there was not an operating system that was capable of running mission-critical applications that ran on x86. Red Hat delivered that, right? So over half the world's equity trades happen on top of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and virtually all of those are on x86 running Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So we have brought not just the feature functionality of an operating system, but we have enabled Moore's Law more broadly in the data center because of what we've done, right? And by building this layered architecture, whether it's the hypervisor or the operating system or the application server, we allow choice on either side of those abstraction layers, which allows customers to not be locked in, to have choice going forward as they're making those architectural decisions. Right? It is the antithesis of kind of what Larry Ellison is talking about. Larry's talking about whether it's an Exadata box or whatever. Let me tightly integrate hardware, software, et cetera, and I can provide a better solution this way. And as we look and you say, wow, you throw a time dynamic in that, over time, wouldn't you rather have clearly abstracted, right? I can change my hardware over time when I want to, abstracted from hardware here. Potentially, my entire infrastructure abstracted below the application server layer here. And that's what we're looking at doing, is picking the specific points in an IT architecture that make sense to be abstracted. And we're doing that in an open source way, because by doing it in an open source way, we're not locking in, we don't have the risk, customers don't have the risk of us locking in and charging supernormal returns, because frankly you can just stop paying us.
What do you tell a customer that has the intention to standardize first on Microsoft for a whole city, and then change to open source. Mark knows about this customer. What do you tell
That's
that
a-
customer?
Well, it's an abstract question.
Yeah,
What-
no, they want to spend 100 million on Microsoft before they change to open source. What do you tell such a customer?
They've already spent the 100 million?
Are they
or-
going to spend 100 million on Microsoft software?
I would say pause long and hard and consider that investment, because it's not just what you pay this year, it's what you pay next year and the next year and the next year with the lock-in. Again, I go back, if you in the mid-1990s said, I think I'm going to go with XP and Office, there was an Office XP back in the
Maybe you
the
should
90s.
ask them, didn't you learn from the past?
Well, exactly, and say, how much have you now spent over time upgrading Windows, upgrading Windows,
The thing is,
upgrading
they
Windows, upgrading
didn't,
Microsoft Office?
they didn't
upgrading
jot
Microsoft
down
Office?
all their costs in the past, so they don't know what they spent.
So,
I was talking about the City of Amsterdam actually, and he has written a lot about it.
well, I think we can demonstrate an order of magnitude cost savings. I think we have done that. And it's not just about cost, it's also about performance and features and functionality. That
And
we
features
provide.
that you pay for but don't need.
Right.
Right, okay. Very clear answer.